Welcome to my Aldi grocery haul audit. Now this is something different because you would expect to stumble upon a video and me share with you everything I've just bought at Aldi. But what I'm talking about here is things that you've previously bought at Aldi and that sat in your pantry, in your fridge freezer, in all your different little cupboards that you've forgotten about. Because these ingredients are fantastic for using up and saving yourself a grocery visit. We actually did this for day 20 of a 28-day meal plan, just so that we could see how much stuff we had left and what we could make with that stuff. It's fantastic because it really gets you thinking about what you can make with the ingredients you've already got in, and it's an amazing way to save on food waste. I know so many people that are constantly throwing food away because they've forgotten about it and it's gone past the date. I even emptied out my aunt's pantry once a few years ago now, and her stuff in there was 4 or 5 years old at least. So we don't want that food waste, and why not make use of what we've already got in? And all those long life food staples are fantastic for bulking up and making into some great Aldi meals. So you're going to get the chance today in today's video to watch over my shoulder as I share with you my own audit of what I've got left from Aldi produce and my plans for what I'm going to do with it. I also wanted to mention before we get started a few points to be aware of. I consider shopping at Aldi going in blind because they always have different deals going on and you don't necessarily know what all those deals are before you go. So I tend to shop at Aldi first and maybe think, right, I need 4 or 5 meats for the week, but I don't mind what those meats are, and I find that you get better value for money than doing that rather than saying, oh, I'm just going to buy X this week. The second thing is salads and dips at Aldi are fantastic. The thing about them is that they're often on the yellow stickers and they make fantastic fillers for food. For example, you can just grab some of their salad, serve it on the side for dinner. And then with the dips, what the dips are fantastic for is mixing into your dinners so that you've got a creamy sauce. So let's say you're doing chicken breast in a mustard sauce, you can add in one of these dips to make it nice and creamy. You can also use it to build yourself a potato bar. So let's say you're having jacket potatoes night, you can just add all these dips to the dinner table and they're just fantastic for people mixing and matching what they're having on their jacket potato. And then next, what I like to do at Aldi, which I've done since I first shopped there in 2003, is to build up a pantry. By this I mean, if you're on a low income and you haven't got much food in, I recommend that you buy one item for your pantry each week, and then you can kind of build it up, and then that's your fallback if your wages are paid late, or if you want to go a couple of days without paying for some food so that you can save some money. It's great for that. You can be stockpiling things like tin tomatoes, flour, sugar, tea bags, whatever it is that you think that you'll always need and that you could survive on if you had to go a few days without grocery shopping. And then next, I like to think about doing recipes that double up recipes. Cook once, eat twice is the motto. And basically that means that you make a bigger pot of food and then you're reheating the leftovers or freezing them and then reheating for another day. It's fantastic for saving money as well. And we have many recipes that we'll be featuring in these videos that fall under that rule. And of course, there's always this misconception that Aldi food is all unhealthy. I admit that when I first started shopping at Aldi, I was 21, I'm there for their biscuits. They used to do a box of broken biscuits that I used to get excited about. They had brilliant chocolate. They had all the fizzy drinks that I could possibly want. And, you kind of thought about Aldi like that, but the reality is that they do some delicious, healthy food in Aldi. And it's very easy to eat healthy when you shop there. So don't just think, oh, it's processed food and freezer food, because it's really not. once you look through the different recipes we feature at Aldi, you'll see that a lot of them are healthy. Though, of course, if you don't want to be healthy and you just want to throw frozen chicken wings from Aldi in the air fryer, that's fine too. And then, of course, the last thing to mention is that this follows a series. What happened is I was planning a big video to do for you, and then I thought to myself, this video is going to be huge. And you know, we all have different interests in Aldi. Some of you will just want to see my grocery haul, whilst others would like to see my meal plan using those groceries, or how I order it with my supplies from Aldi. So what I've done is I've split it into a series of 5 videos so that you can follow them along at home at your own pace. So to start doing an audit of all the supplies you've got in, I recommend just a simple everyday notepad like this A5 that we're using. So basically, what I do is I'll write down that it's a kitchen audit. I'll check for food that are left over that haven't been made into meals yet. I'll use it to avoid food waste. I'll then know what to buy and what to top up on. So for example, if I've got ingredients for an omelette but short on eggs, I know to go and buy a dozen eggs. It's good for meal planning because you can plan meals around all these wonderful ingredients that you've got in. And then you can tick it off as you use something up, or you can just put a line through it, or whatever works best for you. But it's essential that you regularly do these because not only does it avoid food waste, but you remember something great that you forgot that you had. For example, with my kids, whenever I tidy out their bedroom, remove the rubbish, they then notice all these toys that they loved and forgotten about. And I see them playing with stuff that had been forgotten about. And it's just fun. And the same thing applies to food. You know, you think to yourself, oh, I didn't know I had that can of food in the cupboard. I can use that to make X. And it's just brilliant like that. So that's what I suggest first of all. You can download a fancy printable as well if you want, but I'm a notepad kind of girl. And then once I've done that, sometimes I even put it into Google Docs because then I can make a list from that, what I need for recipes, and then I can just delete it off my Google Docs. So it depends on what works best for you. So that's your starting point. And then once I've got my starting point, I get going with my freezer by looking through my freezer and seeing what I've got. My freezer setup is obviously probably or most likely going to be different to yours because we're running a food blog here, so we're testing a lot of different recipes, so we tend to have a lot more ingredients in than most people have. So our setup is we have a big chest freezer, an indoor fridge freezer and an outdoor fridge freezer. It may sound extravagant, but to be honest, you know, because we reheat a lot of leftovers, we find that both fridge freezers are always full. So, you know, and the second fridge freezer we own was given with us. It's provided as part of the rental property, so we didn't actually pay for that. And then the chest freezer, we bought that at a really good price on one of the Facebook Marketplace ads. And, you know, then they delivered it for free as well. So it was a great deal. Anyway, back to our freezer. So looking for my freezer, bearing in mind, this is 20 days into an Aldi meal plan, by the way. So remember to catch the rest of the video series on that on our feed. And what we've done is we've already cooked quite a lot of things because we're 20 days in. So these are kind of leftovers and food that we've bought from Aldi's that we've still got left over. So in the freezer, I've got leftover pasta ×2 and leftover pasta ×2. Right, the first lot of leftover pasta is leftover halloumi pasta. And the other lot is what I call bolognese pasta, which is from the minced pasta bake. And then I've also got a container of leek and potato soup. And I do recommend that you get yourself some cheap glass bottom, plastic lid containers that are perfect for your freezer food, or use some foil containers because it's really good for storing them if you're planning on saving on money on groceries in the long run. And then I also have some corn mince, some garden peas, frozen peas. They can bulk up many meals. Carl will say to me, oh, I know you've run out of food because you've put frozen peas in them to make them stretch further. And he's very right. I do that. And you can do that same trick with frozen corn as well, or some canned beans. And then we also have in the freezer 2 chicken breast packs. And what that essentially is, which let me just take you to that screenshot now. As you can see from what you've seen on screen, basically I've packed up some chicken breasts into individual packs after buying them in bulk from Aldi. And then what I've done there is then I've frozen these individual packs, and they're perfect for when you want chicken breast with your dinner. And then of course we've also got diced chicken breasts, beef mince, crumpets, fish goujons, chicken goujons, leftover bread buns, and of course frozen corn. So from this, I'm also thinking that if I've got a bit of corn left, I can make some cream corn as a side dish. I've got leftover bread buns to go towards some burgers or make into breadcrumbs. I can do the kids some goujons either in sandwiches or with some chips. I've got some beef mince, which obviously has a lot of uses. I've got chicken breasts, which again, a lot of uses. Corn mince, people love it, some people hate it, but it's a good recipe filler. And then, of course, the leftover pasta has so many uses. It doesn't just have to be reheated as pasta. For example, one of my favourite uses of the pasta is to make it into balls, and then it's a bit like mac and cheese balls, and you can load it into breadcrumbs. You can put it into pasties. You can do it as grilled cheese. It can be just a small side dish to go with dinner. You can add in other ingredients and turn that small portion of pasta into enough to feed four. There's just so many possibilities with it. And that's, of course, one of our. And then for one of our fridges, we've got 2 kale bags actually. So I'll be bulk making some kale chips because that's like my ultimate favourite way to use up kale. Got cherry tomatoes, you know, I like to snack on them, but best of all, I love them in my little egg cups that I often make for breakfast. I've got 2 lots of carrots, loads of courgettes, leek, mushrooms, yellow pepper, swede, or as the Americans call it, rutabaga. I've got a big cheese block, loads of soft cheese, some Jersey milk, which is the hubby's favourite, and he often has it in his coffee. He only drinks 1 coffee a day, so he's going to make sure it's a nice creamy coffee. And then, last but not least, Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt you can use as a sub for cream in a lot of different recipes, and it keeps the calories down at the same time. Plus, you know, you can also have some fruit and yogurt for breakfast. You can grab some yogurt, put it in a blender, and make the kids a smoothie. I never buy them flavoured yogurts because I find that they're a waste of money, and you know they've often had a lot of additives thrown in. So if you get some Greek yogurt and blend it with some strawberries, you know exactly what your kids are having in that yogurt. So that's what I tend to do, and it's a great, like I say, great money saver. Then there's our second fridge, which has some medium whole chickens in it, chicken thigh fillets, turkey mince, potatoes, loads of eggs, milk, and some leftover gammon that I haven't used yet, and some bread buns, which I'm thinking straight away, pulled gammon sandwiches there. But this is our second fridge, so this is the one that sits in our garage. And this is when food's not ready quite for eating, and it's like a second storage for us. So for example, we have the eggs that we're eating right now in our indoor fridge, and then these are the ones that are ready in the outside one. But of course, we keep an eye on use by dates on them to make sure that they all get used in the appropriate time. But I've got better for you, because once I've run through my list, I've actually got a tour of my second fridge so that you can see all this food in action. Then my pantry staples, this is another great place, and I love this because it's long life food that you can always get out. If you haven't been able to do grocery shopping, it's your backup. And if you haven't got a fridge or freezer or have limited space on those, there's always somewhere where you can put these little staples. And I recommend, bulking up on these, and then when you have to go without a grocery shop, you're sorted. I was taught this many, many years ago when I was 17 and living in a hostel, the benefit of doing this kind of shopping. And she used to always teach me to make sure I always had 6 cans of each, of several cans that you could use, like tin tomatoes, baked beans. Can you believe it? Back then, potatoes in a can was a thing. I couldn't bear to eat them now, but at the time I thought they were rather good. Stewing steak was in a can back then as well, which I remember stocking up on. But I'm talking back to my 17-year-old self here, and it seriously looked like dog food. But when you're on a budget and you're desperate, you don't care. You really don't. So for canned food, what I actually recommend is the spam, the corned beef, the tin tomatoes, the beans. They're always good from a can, and I feel like they're still just as good as they was then. So we have 5 cans of tin tomatoes in our pantry, plain flour, self-raising flour, sugar, corned beef, plenty of pasta and some yeast. Plus, hanging around in our veggie area, I've got a couple of large onions, a sweet potato, some small potatoes, and some garlic bulbs. So there's plenty to go out there. But before I show you my outside fridge, I just wanted to run through this great thing that I do with tiny pasta leftovers. This is kind of my scribbled down recipe that I've written out for you, so forgive me if the writing's not at its best. But this is great for when you've got a little portion of pasta that you've placed in your fridge or freezer and you don't really know what to do with, and you want to bulk it up and turn it into a meal again. So I call this tiny pasta leftovers. So I'll have a tiny bit of pasta. By a tiny bit, I'm probably talking about 5 tablespoons, if that, that I want to feed 5 people. And obviously, you can't give for each of your family member a tablespoon of pasta for tea. If I could get away with that, I would. But I'm joking, of course. So I've grabbed the tiny pasta, 2 large potatoes, 2 small courgettes, or like you might call them if you live in the US, zucchini. And then what I'll do, peel and slice. Obviously, I don't peel the courgettes, I'm talking about potatoes here. And they'll be like hash, so little chunks. Then I will air fry them with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, usually some seasoning like some salt and pepper and oregano, and then I'll cook them in the air fryer for about 12 minutes. And then once they're done, I'll add them to the leftover pasta. I'll then add in some extra Greek yogurt, and then I'll add in some seasoning such as some more oregano, maybe some salt, maybe some basil. And then I'll add in some little bits of cubed cheese and some cubed bacon that's already cooked that I've got left over, or whatever's going around in the fridge. Then I'll mix it, and then I've got a lovely creamy halloumi pasta and bacon recipe. It's got cheese in it that everybody loves. It's got some potatoes in, so it'll fill them up, and it just makes the perfect portion size. In fact, I've actually got some pictures of it all plated up, so just have a look on the screen now. And I mean, doesn't that look good? And of course, this is just using a little bit of tiny pasta that's left over that you've bulked up and upgraded to make dinner again. You could do the same with stew, adding in extra vegetables to a stew and some cheese. I'm doing the same right now for dinner tonight because Dominic's looked at the small portion of stew I've got in the fridge and I said, yep, that's going to feed the 5 of us tonight. And he looked at it and it's like, not just for Kyle, but yes, it's going to feed 5 tonight. So make it your challenge to see how you can bulk up a recipe. And of course, this is without my trick of adding extra corn, black beans and peas, which I normally do to a recipe to make it stretch further. So just think about that. It's just a great idea. And now I'm going to head over and show you that second fridge that I was talking about, because I just think it's absolutely awesome for all the stuff that I've got in there and how I can use it in some recipes. And this is our outside fridge freezer. What's interesting here is this is our fridge freezer that we originally had in Portugal, and we've had it brought over, and it's perfect for a backup fridge freezer when you've got lots of food in and you're planning recipes. So what have we got in it then? Well, as you can see, we've got plenty of potatoes that are perfect for fries, but also perfect for jacket potatoes, or as you might call it in the US, baked potatoes. I've also got a couple of Aldi whole chickens, and these are fantastic for dumping in the Instant Pot, dumping in the air fryer, or dumping in the slow cooker. They're medium size, and you'd be amazed how far they stretch. And then look at the price on them, £2.75 for a chicken. It's just fantastic. And then in our meat section down here, I've got these, and these are like my dream come true. I could never get them in Portugal. I've always been obsessed with skinless and boneless chicken thighs. They have a wonderful flavour to them, and they're fantastic for cooking in your kitchen gadgets. So I can't wait to use those. And then as well as that in here, I also have 2 packs of turkey breast mince. You can do what you like with it basically, and you can also use any chicken mince recipes and use turkey instead. I love it for the traditional egg roll in a bowl, but you can do all sorts of other things with it as well. We also have a 4 pint of milk in there. We've got a little bit of milk left in our inside freezer, and this is just our backup, so we'll need to top that up at Aldi soon. Then what we have up here is pulled gammon. If you're not aware of what pulled gammon is, then it's what us Brits call pulled ham, and it's amazing when you cook it in the slow cooker. As you can see, it's got the barbecue sauce. We've got some spare Aldi bread buns, so for lunch today we'll be using up the leftovers of those, and it's just fantastic for a quick meal. And then we've also got about 30 eggs there as well, which we tend to use mainly for breakfast because we always having scrambled eggs, omelettes and egg cups. We always seem to have one of those 3 for breakfast pretty much every day, and we're a family of 5, so 30 eggs doesn't last long. And that's our fridge. Can you believe that? That's a backup fridge. And these are all with really, really cheap Aldi products, and it just shows you how far you can stretch them. Because I'm a bit of a shopaholic when it comes to Aldi, and it's nice to have a backup and a freezer. And this is just some of the produce we have. Make an itinerary, and then you can plan your meals around what you've got in, you avoid food waste, and you cut the costs. For the final part of this video, what I wanted to talk about is the best Aldi tips for success. Things that I recommend you do to make your savings on Aldi groceries even bigger, and also to make your meals more interesting and fun. First of all, go shopping at 6 p.m. Forget those 9 a.m. shops, I want to get it over and done with thing, because the best deals can be had when you shop at Aldi at 6 p.m. This is because they're marking down the yellow stickers, and you're more likely to find the produce that's got 75% marked off it. You know, I didn't actually get this during my 28-day challenge that I've just done for you. I actually got it just the other day, and that was, I went in, it was just after Christmas, and I managed to get some lamb loin roast and some lamb shoulders at 75% off. If I'd gone in the morning, I wouldn't have got those deals. So that shows you the kind of deals you can get. You know, the best ones will always be off the meat. But, you know, you can always stockpile your bread for the week and do that kind of thing too. It doesn't just have to be about the meat. And then second on the list is I recommend that you regularly do a grocery audit. By grocery audit, what I'm talking about is, let's say it's 2 days before you're due to go grocery shopping. You get your pen and paper out and you list everything that you've got left. You particularly make notes of things that have got dates that are coming up, or ones where the fruit and veg are looking like they are past their best. And the idea here is that you're going to cook these foods first. You're going to remember all these great foods that you've got in that you forgot about, that are at the back of your freezer, at the back of your cupboards, and you can bring new life to them. And let's say it's 2 days before grocery shopping and you want to save some money, and you found enough to make a few meals with, then what you could do is you could delay the grocery shop for another 2 days. So instead of grocery shopping in 2 days, it's 4, and then maybe you've even got enough to miss a week and actually save quite a bit. Or you could go into Aldi's and just spend £6 just getting a few essentials that you can work with these ingredients, such as topping up your milk, your eggs, and other dairy that you haven't got. And then next, we live in this world where we're obsessed with these yellow stickers. I know, I'm obsessed with them. And what I've found is that you end up buying the ones for things that you don't actually want and that you're not going to use. So just look at that yellow sticker. Are you actually going to eat it, or are you just being greedy and getting it because it's on yellow sticker? You know, I've often turned them down because they've got salad on discount. I've already got some salad in. I ain't going to eat it by the time it comes along. Or they've got 75% off bread for the millionth time, and I've still got some bread in the freezer. You know, it's under those kind of circumstances that I walk away from them. And then next, repurposing your leftovers. By this, I mean, instead of just throwing away your leftovers, place them back in the fridge and make sure your next meal comes from them. A good example of this, which we've done during our 28-day Aldi meal plan, is taking some corned beef hash, that of course is made with carrots, potatoes and corned beef from Aldi, and then the leftovers were made into pasties. I mean, every British person loves a pasty, right? I know I do. I absolutely love them. So what I recommend you do is, let's say you've just got, I don't know, 4 tablespoons left of some corned beef hash you made. Normally you chuck that because you say, oh, that's not enough to feed somebody. But that is enough to fill 4 pasties with, because pasties don't actually have that much filling in them. And then you've got a fantastic, great upsell, I like to call it, because it's like you're upcycling it, because you're making corned beef hash really, really good and delicious. And you can do the same with so many others. I mean, you can make a stew and then turn them into Cornish pasties. You know, you can use leftover cheese and onion from your jacket potatoes and their cheese and onion pasties, and so much more. And of course, don't forget, those vegetable scraps make amazing instant pot vegetable stock. You know, so those are just a few ideas, but always remember to make use of your leftovers. Our problem is we use our leftovers so much that sometimes we think we've bought too much food because we haven't actually got through all the food. So stuff ends up getting thrown in the freezer because we're like, oh my God, did we really buy that much food? But we didn't buy that much food. It's just that we've made use of every bit of the leftovers. And then, of course, to bulk up your meals with yellow stickers. You look at some yellow stickers and think to yourself, oh, I can't really do anything with that. But think again, there is so much choice. For example, what we did is I got some yellow stickers, and one of the ingredients I got, again, this is in our video for the Aldi meal plan, is we got some stickers for some lamb steak. Only one lamb steak, you know. We're a family of 5. Well, I call ourselves a family of 5, but we're like feeding 4 people because 2 of them are small children. And I got this lamb steak, and what I did with it was I chopped up the steak and it became lamb stew and dumplings. The stew and dumplings itself was very cheap, and we'd used leftovers from a vegetable stew and dumplings, so we were simply bulking up the meal with a great Aldi 75% off sticker. And then last on the list for my tips actually came to me through a conversation I had with a great friend of mine. And he works for a more upmarket supermarket, let's say, compared to Aldi. And his one comment about where he works is that, unlike Aldi, the fruit and veg lasts a lot longer. And that's very true. Fruit and veg at Aldi doesn't seem to have the longevity that a lot of other places have. So what I recommend you do is you meal prep as soon as you've got home from the groceries, and then think about how you're going to use them. For example, if you've got some vegetables and you're planning on having a vegetable stew, prep it when you get home, and then you can cook it, and the stew will last a lot longer in the fridge over a few days rather than just leaving your vegetables on the side. So kind of think of how you're going to use that food so that you can make use of them before they waste. And of course, that's just a few tips. There's so much things to learn about Aldi, and I hope I've given you some really good pointers. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the Recipe This family. Recipe This can be found on Twitter, Facebook. We also have our own Facebook group, Pinterest, and best of all, there is the recipethis.com/newsletter. In the weekly newsletter, we share with you the latest tips and tricks, as well as the latest recipes that you can cook at home using your kitchen gadgets. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll be in the loop whenever we post new videos.